Hello and welcome back to EVE Online with me, Mark from DadX, and I thought I'd give you a quick update on the PI. I have polished it, I have rebuilt some of it, I have rationalized it and updated it. Have we improved the yield? That's the important thing. We're going to have a quick look through. I've got 3 characters in here, as I showed you in the last video in Anne with PI running. I've set each of them up in slightly different styles. Now we're going to look at Anne's first. Hers is set up so that she only really needs to come back and look at hers every 3 days in terms of being here and moving stuff around. So we've increased production, we've added in an extra extractor and basic facilities to process the noble metals into precious metals. Now what we have been doing, I'm still making adjustments, is having a surplus of noble metals, the base material. So I've put an extra factory in here just to try to keep that down. I don't want her to have to keep coming back to take off this surplus, because this will fill up the storage quite quickly. As we looked at in the other episodes, the volumes of the base materials are much bigger than the processed ones. So that is basically what I've done on these planets, is try to balance their production. Like here, I only have 1 extractor here getting us some base metals, but I need all of these factories, 6, to process it to keep the surplus down. We've still got a little surplus here because I've only just added number 6 to the factory count on this particular planet. I'm kind of playing it a little bit by ear. You could do lots of calculations with calculators and figure some of this out ahead, but I'm kind of doing it in a little bit of a as we go along now. Now here on this planet, on And 5, it's an ice planet. This is where we're getting our toxic metals. I've got 7 factories up here because 1 extractor is producing so much. I've just put the 7th in again because despite my previous expansion, we're still accruing quite a surplus of heavy metals which we need to get processed into toxic metals. So there's still a bit of balancing going on. I've still got a little bit of capacity left on some of these planets, so I can make some changes. This I've left this pretty much as it was, just as a testament to the good old days. On this planet, if we look here, if we scan on here for base metals, we may well just tear all this down and rebuild it in one of these areas. What I'm actually doing on this planet is just over maybe a week, couple of weeks, just keeping an eye on how these areas fluctuate, how they change. But I've left this one here as it is, so that's how messy it was. Again, so what we're doing here is we're ending up producing the construction blocks here. So we've got the extractor here producing base metals. We're bringing in toxic metals which then get combined in these factories as we looked at before. Over here we've got the spaceport, which is where the construction blocks are ending up, and we're putting, and the ingredients are getting stored. And then we do still have a storage unit on here which I'm feeding some of these surpluses into. So we've got base metals in here just getting processed. Something to bear in mind is that extractors run on 1-hour cycles. The basic industrial facilities run on half-hour cycles, so they can they can do 2 loads of their processing in 1 extractor run. So there's always going to be a little bit of room in your factories to process some of that surplus. It's just a question of getting the balance so you don't fill your storage up with the base materials. And then the 5th and final planet, Anne has level 4 skills for the number of planets she can have and the upgrade she can do. So again here we've got 1 extractor. There's not a huge yield of precious metals to be had here. I need to adjust this slightly for the next run. As you can see, it's not been positioned too well. But in terms of increasing the production here, I might take down these 2 factories and put in an extra extractor. We'll see. There is an option. I just left this running as it was, a little bit like I did the last one. On planets where I put in a 2nd extractor, those actually increase the production by about 40% because you can only actually fit 4 more production heads on the 2nd extractor. Maybe 5. It depends again on the balance between the basic industrial facilities you want to process the produce and the amount you want to extract. So yeah, just because there's 2 extractors, it doesn't mean that's doubled the production, because you have to vary the number of heads you can run on that 2nd one. I'm just going through the costs here. Some of the setups got completely taken down and rebuilt, as some more will, I'm sure, over time. But I think I've spent about 15 mil per character on the rebuilds, maybe up to 20. That's probably an overestimate. So It's not a huge amount. It can be a quite a chunk of money to set up if you haven't got the 10 million, but in terms of the yield, I don't think we're going to find it a problem. Right, second character. That isn't the one we were going to look at second. Miss Verlazy over here. She's again got level 4 skills, so she's got 5 planets. Miss Verlazy is I've set it up in a slightly different way because her planets are set up to maximize production, particularly for the precious metals. But it also means that we've had to cut down on some of the production. We've only got one facility here making tech to stage 2 production into the mechanical parts. Self-sufficiently between the precious metals and reactive metals that she's producing. But her planets are always at the moment producing a bit of a surplus of the base materials. Let's have a look. Or have I managed to finally sort it out? So what I'm going to do here is just drop in an extra basic facility there. Just one link into there. We need to install a schematic, reactive metals, set the route for the materials back into the storage. We'll submit that, and then we'll just click on the storage and we'll route some of these base metals into there. So that factory layer is just going to work on the surplus. It's not even linked directly to the extractor for now. For now, it's just going to feed straight back and forth from the storage to get that surplus down, so I don't have to keep going back. See, here we're creating a surplus of noble metals, but because I've got 2 extractors, I haven't got enough power grid to process anymore. So on this planet, I am going to have to come and take off that surplus. So this setup is a little bit less self-sufficient than Anne's. This is going to need some attention during the runs to empty off the storage and move a little bit of stuff around. And now here we are with Crankbot. Crankbot has got 6 planets. One is a dedicated factory planet. We will look at that last. So in terms of the production, it's all pretty much the same. I've doubled up the extractors on some planets, particularly for the precious metals, to maximize the yield from there. Toxic metals and reactive metals, I have even increased the yield on those with second extractors, so that we are producing some quite heavy surpluses of the base materials, as you can see here. So we've got one planet set up just for factories, and this is going to be adjusted. I've still got a reasonable amount of capacity left here, loads in fact, so I can make much more. I'm kind of building this up as I go along. So we've got this area here which is creating mechanical parts, so that's doing stage 2 production. This side of the little blob over here, that's processing the excesses of the base materials into reactive metals or toxic metals or precious metals. It's just actually cleared a surplus of noble metals to produce those precious metals. So what we're going to have to do now is take some more stuff out for this planet to process. And I am going to add in, I think, one more basic industrial facility just there. And then we're going to link it straight into that storage. That's the only link it needs. We'll do the schematics, etc. What we're going to bring out, in fact, we're going to bring out base metals. So if we get the schematic for reactive metals, install, and we're going to send the materials back to that storage. Now let's see what's going on in local, because that is relevant. We've got a couple of people around. They are not blue. So what we're going to do, we're going to use the Nereus rather than the Epithal. So we need to resupply this planet with materials so it can continue its epic production. We're going to take the Nereus out. Now the things to bear in mind is that this storage facility over here has a capacity of 12,000 cubic meters. The spaceport has a capacity of 10,000 cubic meters. The spaceport is the only way of getting materials on and off the planet in the way that we're doing. Obviously, we're not doing those planetary launches that you need to do right at the very beginning. We've got to transfer goods into the spaceport, then transfer them over to this storage. Now, that is going to use something called an expedited transfer. Right, so let's get, I think we'll put 1 million in there of the base metals. That should be 10,000-ish. 10,000 bang on. Right, so we're going to take this out first. And we're going to drop it into there. What we can do while we're on the way is this precious metals, we can expedite transfer back to the spaceport. So we can execute that transfer. So that's already moved over there. If you look here now, next transfer available is in 1 hour 43 minutes. Right, we need to get out there. So we're going to use a drop down. We're going to walk straight to the customs office, and we're going to access the customs office. So anything we want to take off of planet, I've got some more precious metals here, so they can go into there. I'm going to take the mechanical parts out to get them out of the way, and we'll transfer them. So we've got as much precious metals in here as we really need. That's nearly half of the 10,000 capacity. Right, we've got the warp drive active down here. We're still in warp. What we're going to do is open up our cargo hold. We're going to drag the base metals over here, and the moment that warp drive active goes off of our screen, we're going to drop that in there. We're going to grab that in there, and we're going to warp straight back to the station. That's as long as we need to be out here to do that. You do all the admin off this screen when the ship's docked. You do need to be undocked to do any kind of transfer from the customs office into the planet. So we're going to do that there. Just a moment. That's not all going to fit, is it? It's okay. We'll top it up later. I should have taken... the precious metals are in the way. It's ruined my maths, but not the point. Let me put it that way. So we've transferred the base metals now into the spaceport. And we are now going to expedite the transfer of the base metals to the storage. So that's back over here, and I'm docked up, all safe and sound. I nearly am. We'll wait till we are for sure. There we are. Now, we have base metals in here we want to convert into reactive metals. So we need to change all of the schematics on here to reactive metals, and then it's going to ask us to pick a route for the product, which is straight back to the storage. And we can go round all of these, create route, and last but not least, create route, go, submit. So now this end of our little complex is just converting all of those base metals into reactive metals. So but 12,000 reactive metals in there that will match pretty much the precious metals that are there, and then that planet is producing more reactive metals. So we're going to take over a bit more of our precious metal stash. Because remember, we can use the customs office as storage. So we're going to undock again. We're going to leave the base metals in there. We've done the expedited transfer, and as you can see here, it is 4 hours 31 minutes for another transfer from the Storm launch pad. We're getting in towards the customs office. We'll just hold those over there. We've got 35,000 cubic meters capacity up here in the customs office that we can keep stuff in. There you go. We can go and dock again. So we want the reactive metals in there, and we'll put some of the precious metals in there so it's full up. Transfer, and now these have all sprung straight back into life because all of their routes, etc., are all done. So the news we really want to know, because that is really everything I need to show you today, is how much did we make? Now, in the last 3 days that we ran with the old setup, we made just under 800 million, wasn't it? I think that's about right. We calculated we make just under 800 million in 30 days. Down here, I'm just going to stack these back up. So this to here, plus this, these are the two surpluses that were created in the first run of materials. So that's why I'm clearing them on that factory planet. 122 million in 3 days. So that's 1.2 billion in 30 days. I think I'm going to get a bit more out of it yet. And a Plex at the moment is 1.35 billion. So these three alts, I think we could achieve enough ISK to get a Plex. If I focus, if I keep at it. And that is really the thing. How much do you want to get out of your PI? How much do you want to put into it? I do have more alts than this actually doing PI, by the way. I thought I'd stick these videos to just looking at these 3 because obviously that's how many you could run off of just one account. So that's a little update, a little bit off the cuff, but I hope it's been useful. I hope it's been interesting. We will, once I've run another couple more cycles, tidied it up, have another quick update, but nothing too elaborate. And the plan is then, once I've got an epiful full, and I probably already have, to be honest with you, it's 144 cubic meters, but that's because most of it is here. But if I'm going to start filling up my epiful, then we'll run out with the epiful, get it out to Metzerel, take it from there. But anyway, I hope this has been interesting. Leave it a like. We'll be back very soon, guys. I'm trying to do, going forward, a few more of these shorter, more off-the-cuff videos just to keep you guys satisfied. So I hope you've liked it. Any comments or feedback or suggestions will be very much appreciated. Before we go, a quick tip. If you're out in high sec and the customs offices are owned by NPCs, there is a skill that we can learn. It's called Customs Code Expertise. That will reduce the level of tax that you're getting charged by NPC corporations by 10% per level. There's nothing you can do when it's owned by a player corporation other than ask them to be your friend and maybe reduce it. I'll leave that down to your ability to charm the socks off them. Anyway, guys, that's it for now. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Remember, even is believing. Take care and goodbye.